Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Big Magic: How to Live a Creative Life and Let Go of Your Fear, by Elizabeth Gilbert. Are you afraid that you're not the creative type and therefore can't let your inner creativity out? Lessons on how to unleash our imagination are sprinkled throughout Big Magic, which is written like a template. The chapter headings are bold: courage, enchantment, permission, persistence, trust, and divinity. Inspirational stories are included in each chapter to help us find our own creative magic. Author Elizabeth Gilbert thinks that calling someone a creative person is just plain silly. She thinks that creativity is a trait shared by all of us, and that we all have a natural curiosity about it. To summarize, we all possess the divine nature of creativity. However, it's easy to overlook this point. Let's explore the magical realm of creativity, how ideas have their own agency, and how to engage in the creative process from a place of curiosity, playfulness, and love. Are you ready to unleash your inner ice skater? To begin, Gilbert uses a story about her friend Susan to illustrate what creativity in action looks like before delving deeper into the magic of creativity and how to silence the voice of fear. On the morning of her 41st birthday, Susan awoke restless. The last time she'd felt like this was when she was a figure skater, decades ago, and she longed for that feeling again. That's why she decided to go skating again, just to see if she could still have the same kind of fun she had back then. She hired a coach, purchased a pair of skates, and practiced 3 mornings a week before dawn until she became proficient. In order to achieve Olympic-level skating standards, she didn't quit her job, sell her house, or train as hard as she could. Remember that the story can and should end in a different way. This tale doesn't come to an end because Susan continues to skate. The message here is that anything that makes us appreciate the value of life, joy, and childlike wonder is creative as long as it is the best way for Susan to find beauty and transcendence in her life. It's time to reconnect with the magic of creativity if we're going to rediscover this sense of awe. What if the origins of creativity aren't exclusively human? When it comes to creativity, Gilbert has developed a set of beliefs about how it works and how to work with it over the years. This woman has no qualms about proclaiming her admiration for all things magical, including the creative process itself. Our planet is not only home to various species of animals and plants, but also to bacteria and viruses. Ideas, Gilbert argues, are like separate living organisms with a single urge, to be made manifest. In order to bring ideas into the real world, we must put forth our best effort. Whenever new ideas knock on our door, we receive the universally recognized physical and emotional signals of inspiration: goosebumps, a rise in the hair on the back of our necks, and a butterfly feeling in our stomachs. Coincidences will be arranged for us to stumble upon in order to keep us engaged. An idea will keep us awake at night, interrupt our daily routine, and demand our full attention until it has it. There will come a time when an idea will ask us if we want to pursue it. When Gilbert tells the story of an idea that jumped from her to her writing friend, Ann Patchett, she demonstrates that ideas have agency. An idea for a novel set in the Amazon jungle sprang from Gilbert's husband's Brazilian roots. While the concept inspired and energized her, she chose not to devote her time and energy to the story and instead went on to work on other projects. It took her too long to bring the concept to life because she neglected it for too long. Gilbert struck up a friendship with author Ann Patchett at this time. Meanwhile, Patchett was working on a book about the Amazon. The plot was remarkably similar to Gilbert's original idea. A message here is to allow ourselves to create despite our fears. Creativity is a path for the courageous, not the fearless. Both writers were amazed and still believe that Gilbert passed the idea to Patchett, who was open to giving it life. Is there something you'd like to do but are afraid to do because you're afraid of failure? It's possible we're afraid of what others will think of our creative endeavors. It's also possible to justify not creating at all by telling ourselves that our efforts will be in vain if they don't meet the expectations of others. You could think of creativity as a rare gift bestowed upon a select few who are naturally gifted as artistic. The call to express one's creativity is frequently drowned out by the murmur of anxiety. It's much easier said than done to simply let go of our anxieties. It's simply not possible. If we want to live a fearless life, we need to pause and consider our options. We require fear for our very own survival, which is self-evident. We should be grateful to evolution for imbuing us with a fear response. In Gilbert's words, without it, we'd live one short crazy stupid life. So we need our fear to live. Fear, on the other hand, can prevent us from experiencing life. We get into trouble when we let fear take control of our creative expression. Passion and trepidation coexist in the creative life. We must learn to travel with our fears if we hope to accomplish exciting things, create intriguing things, and share our creative treasures with the world. How do we go about accomplishing this goal? As Gilbert does, consider having a conversation with your fear before embarking on a creative road trip. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to embark on a road trip, she declares at the outset. In the tradition of yours, you'll be joining us. However, keep in mind that only I and creativity will be able to make any decisions along the way. So fear can serve as a companion, a reminder of what we care most about, and a companion, but it can do nothing more. In order to avoid going down the path of self-doubt, we must not let fear take the wheel. Let's take a look at 4 ways Gilbert recommends to keep fear at bay. Self-acceptance is the first step toward freedom. Have you ever asked yourself, who am I to do this? When it comes to your creative endeavors. Instead of taking on creative projects because we believe we have the authority to do so, we frequently ask for others' permission to do so. We may be worried that our ideas aren't unique enough. We're concerned that ideas have become so commonplace that they're no longer deserving of being invented. It was once revealed to Gilbert by a budding author that she had a book proposal in mind but was afraid it had already been written. As Gilbert responded, yes, it's likely that it has already been done. The majority of the work has already been done, but not by you. Gilbert's advice is to focus more on authenticity and less on being original. We don't have to save the world with our creativity, and we don't have to be deemed important by others. It's admirable that we want to help others, but that shouldn't be our sole driving force for creating. Several years ago, Gilbert penned a book to save herself. In order to make sense of her emotional journey, she wrote it. Her primary motivation for writing was to gain insight into her own mind. As she went through the process, she penned a story that helped many people. Eat, Pray, Love is the title of the book. In spite of its unintended success, she didn't write it to help others, rather, she did so because she found it an interesting and useful subject to contemplate and write about. It's funny how doing what we love unintentionally ends up helping others. According to Paul Tillich, a theologian, there is no love that does not become help. Finally, we need to have faith in our own abilities as artists. You may shudder at the word, but we must have some level of entitlement to be able to go out and see what the world has to offer. When it comes to the arrogance of belonging, the poet David Whyte describes it as the pride of belonging. This kind of entitlement isn't about egotism or self-absorption, it is about pride and belonging. It's the exact opposite, in a strange way. Taking us out of ourselves and allowing us to fully participate in life is a divine force. There's no need to obtain a letter of consent in this case. It's important to do what makes you happy because that will infuse your work with a sense of playfulness. Your inner trickster is waiting for you. A common adage goes something like, you are the company you keep. After a while, we'll have to decide which company we'll be working with. What aspects of your being do you want to cultivate, nourish, and integrate? Decide if you want to be a martyr or a sly one. As far as I'm concerned, what's the difference? A dark, solemn, and rigid energy characterizes the martyr. The trickster, on the other hand, exudes an airy, sly, and endlessly mutable energy. In contrast to the martyr, the trickster sees life as exciting and fun. It's also worth noting, a martyr believes that all truth will be revealed through torment, while a trickster insists that I didn't come here to be tortured. Gilbert is a firm believer in the power of trickster energy to inspire new ideas. Brene Brown, a best-selling author, is an example of a prankster. For Brown, academia is a place where people labor and suffer for years to produce work that only a small number of people will ever read. One of the first things Brown noticed about herself as a writer was how heavy her mood was when she was writing. Storytelling was a natural fit for her, even though writing was difficult for her. As a storyteller who enjoys public speaking, Brown was able to find a way around the system. She wanted to try something new when she started work on one of her books. While talking about her book's subject matter with 2 of her most trusted colleagues, she took meticulous notes. Her method was to run to the next room and write down exactly what she had just told them, taking the notes with her as she went. When she was able to transcribe her stories, her writing improved significantly. While she was at it, she had a good time figuring out how to fool the system. That's how a trickster gets things done, according to Gilbert. Even though it may seem like fun, cultivating our creative side necessitates dedication. So, don't let the flame die out, and let creativity be your muse. Be infatuated with the creative process. Gilbert, despite being a proponent of magical thinking, is not naive. Even with all the best intentions, hard work, and connections, there is no guarantee of success. Living a creative life is unlike anything else in the world. Success in life is more often than not the result of our abilities combined with our willingness to put forth the necessary effort. We may or may not succeed in our creative endeavors, however. There are no promises. When it's difficult, inconvenient, and often financially unrewarding to pursue one's creative endeavors, why do some people persevere? It all comes down to that four-letter word, is the answer. Love. Authors KK and KK were the first to write about the subject. When J.K. Rowling and Toni Morrison rose to fame as literary giants, they vowed to keep writing despite their other full-time jobs. Each day, they carved out time to write. This group was free from any sense of obligation or expectation of reward from others. It was the right time for them to spend time together as a couple. Indulging in a passionate love affair was what it felt like for these authors to sit down and pen their works. Instead of looking at creativity as a stale marriage, perhaps it is time to see it as a passionate lover. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, you should take advantage of this time to recharge your creative batteries. Consider it a passionate escape rather than a burden. Get up and stretch your legs the next time you're frustratedly staring at a blank page. Show up to your creative muse freshly showered and dressed, with a spritz of cologne or perfume. Bring your imagination back to life. Isn't this something Gilbert does? Isn't creativity in love with you? Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer, a botanist and professor of environmental science and forestry, is a close friend of Gilbert's. Before she begins teaching her students how to save the world, she asks her students two questions. Are you a nature lover? Is the first question. There is a yes from everyone. Do you believe that nature loves you in return? Is the second question. Every person in the room raises their hand. Robin is of the opinion that we have all but forgotten how to have a meaningful conversation these days. We've forgotten how to talk to and listen to the earth. We're missing out on our ability to co-create life if we don't cultivate the sense of connection with one another. Earth doesn't care about us, but rather asks for our contributions in return for hers. As Robin Sharma puts it, the exchange of love between Earth and people summons both parties' creative gifts. Life and creativity are mutually reinforcing. Before Robin's students can heal the world, they must first heal their own self-image. We have a preconceived notion that the creative process entails pain. Although Gilbert admires Oscar Wilde's creativity, she finds it difficult to see the beauty in his anguish when he described the creative process as one long lovely suicide. A war zone filled with despair and darkness isn't necessary for the creative process. Also, it's possible that creative endeavors don't want us to go through hardship. Why wouldn't we be loved by creativity, since ideas are drawn to us? And why would something that seeks us out try to harm us, especially since we're the catalyst for their emergence? The only thing that ideas ask of us is our full and undivided attention. To sum it up, throughout Gilbert's book, she encourages us to view the creative process as magical and fun. To help ourselves and others in their creative endeavors, we can accept the fact that there's enough room for everyone. While conventional success is a good way to gauge our value, our commitment to the creative process is a better way. Our creative martyrdom mindset can be replaced with a magical one if we so choose. What if our creative inspirations aren't our slaves or masters, but rather our partners? If you're going to live a life based on delusions, which is what we all do to some extent, then why not at least select a delusion that's helpful? Gilbert asks, defending her position. In other words, she's saying that the work wants to be made and that it wants to be made through you. In other words, the goal is to cultivate the courage and faith in our own creativity, as well as the conviction that we are all deserving of creating and sharing, no matter what the outcome. Can you summon the courage to bring your inner creative treasures to life now that you know you were endowed with this ability from birth? Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.